What if I told you that the future of an entire nation isn't in the hands of generals, diplomats, or foreign donors, but in the hands of 20,000 unpaid women? This is not a story from a movie. This is Burkina Faso today. In the heart of West Africa, a quiet revolution is taking place. Not with guns or protests, but with shovels, wheelbarrows, and a fierce, unbreakable spirit. Burkina Faso, once one of the poorest countries on earth, is showing the world what true nation-building looks like, led not by politicians or soldiers, but by ordinary women, mothers, sisters, wives in the family, or maybe female students. Under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore, these women have taken up the call to build their country by hand. Volunteering without pay, they are constructing roads, schools, and vital infrastructure that many said could never be done without foreign aid. Therefore, if you believe the story of Africa's rebirth is just beginning, stay with us to the end. This is a story of hope, courage, and the power of people who refuse to wait for someone else to save them. In Burkina Faso today, a movement unlike any other is reshaping the very fabric of the nation. Over 20,000 women, mothers, students, traders, and grandmothers have put aside their daily lives and chosen to volunteer their labor in building the country's future. This isn't a paid job or a political stunt. It is a deep, unwavering commitment to their homeland. Across the dusty roads of Kayatu, the farmlands of Banfora, and the bustling markets of Wahiguya, these women are mixing cement, carrying bricks on their heads, and laying the foundation for something greater than themselves. They are constructing rural and intercity roads that reconnect isolated villages to towns for the first time in decades. They are building fences around schools and clinics, creating safer spaces for children to learn and grow. Drainage systems are going up to protect communities from deadly floods during the rainy season. Public sanitation zones are being established to restore dignity in neighborhoods long neglected. This collective effort is more than just infrastructure. It's a reclaiming of pride and ownership. Mariam Kabore, a volunteer in the Sicily region, captures this spirit when she says, "We are not just women, we are warriors." Another volunteer, AWA, a mother of 5 from Wahiguya, adds, "I don't need to be paid. My reward is seeing our children go to school safely." These voices reflect a determination rooted in love and responsibility rather than financial gain. At the center of this national transformation is Captain Ibrahim Traore. Since taking power in 2022, he has refused to beg for foreign aid or rely on international donors. Instead, he has called on the people of Burkina Faso to take their future into their own hands. And the response has been nothing short of extraordinary. These women are not just building roads and schools, they are building hope. Their unpaid work has saved billions of CFA francs that would otherwise have gone to costly construction projects. These savings are being redirected to education, defense, and healthcare, creating a ripple effect of progress throughout the country. But this story is only beginning. The real power lies not just in what has been built, but in the movement that these women represent, a movement of resilience, self-reliance, and unyielding patriotism. Behind the bricks and mortar lies a quiet rebellion. The voluntary labor of these 20,000 women is more than just a construction effort, it's a challenge to the old ways of doing things. Traditionally, governments depend heavily on foreign aid, loans, and international donors to fund infrastructure projects. In Burkina Faso, that model is being turned on its head. Building roads, schools, and sanitation systems without salaries or contracts is unheard of on such a scale anywhere else in the world. The usual price tag for such projects runs into billions of CFA francs. But here, patriotism replaces paychecks. Civic pride replaces contracts. Yvette, a grandmother from the West, put it simply, "If the president risks his life for our future, then we can give our time for the roads." This movement has also attracted the attention, and in some cases, the surprise of neighboring countries. Mali and Niger have sent delegations to observe how Burkina Faso's volunteer-led projects operate. Civil society groups in Guinea are calling for similar grassroots efforts to restore dignity and independence. Yet, in the Western media and among international political circles, the story has barely been noticed. The usual narratives about Africa focus on conflict, poverty, and dependency, making it difficult for such a grassroots movement to get airtime. This silence speaks volumes about the disconnect between Africa's realities and global perceptions. Captain Ibrahim Traore himself has personally visited many of these sites. But instead of offering money or empty promises, he offers recognition and encouragement. At a recent gathering, he reminded the nation, "This country belongs to its people." His words echo the growing sentiment. Strength comes not from what is given, but from what is built together. The day-to-day life on these construction sites is as inspiring as the vision. Women rise before dawn, sometimes walking miles in the dark to reach work sites. They sing songs of resilience and hope as they mix cement and lay bricks with their own hands. The work is exhausting, the sun relentless, but the spirit is unbreakable. While the world watches in silence, Burkina Faso's women continue to make history quietly, but powerfully. Their voluntary work has become a symbol of resistance not just against terrorism and economic instability, but against decades of foreign dependence and broken promises. The international community's muted reaction contrasts sharply with the enthusiasm from within the region. Women's groups in Mali have requested training to replicate the volunteer model. Youth movements in Niger study how Burkina Faso organized thousands of volunteers without coercion or financial incentive. Across West Africa, civil society leaders see in this movement a blueprint for reclaiming agency and dignity. Back home, Captain Ibrahim Traore's leadership is increasingly linked to this grassroots awakening. He often recalls the legacy of Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader of the 1982nd, who championed self-reliance and women's empowerment. Though many volunteers were not alive during Sankara's time, his spirit lives on in their work. The government has begun formalizing support by providing tools, safety equipment, land certificates, and business licenses to the women-led cooperatives. Ministries are encouraged to adopt similar volunteer programs, signaling a systemic shift. This movement challenges the conventional definition of governance, shifting power from top-down political structures to a bottom-up community-driven model. It's a reminder that true sovereignty comes from within the people, not external forces. In a world often fixated on headlines of conflict and crisis, the silent strength of Burkina Faso's women offers a hopeful narrative. They are not just building infrastructure, they are building a new nation, brick by brick, hand by hand, heart by heart. The impact of this movement on Burkina Faso's social fabric is profound. At its core, it is a story of unity, a nation coming together through the hands of its women to reclaim dignity and independence. For communities long isolated by poor roads or terrorist threats, the newly built rural roads are not just paths, they are lifelines reconnecting families, markets, and schools. Beyond the physical infrastructure, this movement has sparked a civic awakening. Hundreds of women are being trained in construction skills like masonry, carpentry, and surveying, creating a new generation of skilled laborers and community leaders. Youths shadow volunteers, learning trades that may offer stable futures beyond subsistence farming or informal markets. This transfer of skills strengthens communities' resilience and reduces reliance on foreign aid or outside expertise. It nurtures a sense of ownership and pride that traditional aid programs have often failed to foster. As one volunteer said, "We are not waiting for help, we are the help." The sense of collective accomplishment has lifted public morale. People now see tangible progress roads connecting isolated villages, safe school compounds, sanitation improvements, projects built not by outsiders, but by their own mothers and sisters. This visible change fosters trust in local leadership and creates momentum for further civic engagement. Politically, the movement signals a significant shift in governance and national identity under Captain Ibrahim Traore's leadership. The government has moved beyond mere rhetoric, actively supporting the women's cooperatives with tools, safety gear, land certificates, and business licenses. This formal recognition empowers volunteers, turning a grassroots initiative into a nationwide strategy for development. Traore's approach rejects dependence on foreign aid or IMF loans. Instead, he calls for sovereignty rooted in the people's hands, echoing the revolutionary ideals of Thomas Sankara, The government's support reflects this vision, fostering an environment where citizens are not passive recipients but active architects of their country's future. This growing national pride challenges traditional power dynamics, empowering ordinary citizens, especially women, to take central roles in rebuilding their nation. It also sends a clear message internationally. Burkina Faso will not bow to external pressures or conditional aid. Its people are standing firm, united in purpose. The success of this movement strengthens Traoré's political standing at home and signals a new model of African leadership, one grounded in grassroots empowerment, national dignity, and resilience. The consequences extend beyond politics into a renewed cultural identity, where community service and pride become the cornerstones of a reimagined Burkina Faso. To many Americans, the idea of unpaid, voluntary national labor might sound like something from a distant past, perhaps the days of Rosie the Riveter during World War II, when women across the United States filled factories to support the war effort. But what's happening today in Burkina Faso offers a powerful reminder of what's possible when a nation believes in itself. In a time when political division and disillusionment run deep across the Western world, the story of 20,000 women working side by side without pay, without demand forces us to reflect. What would happen if communities across America rediscovered this same sense of purpose? Not for profit, not for political gain, but for the common good. Burkina Faso is offering more than a development model, it's offering a moral lesson. When leadership inspires from the bottom up, when people feel seen and empowered, extraordinary things happen. These women aren't building for credit or contracts. They are building for their children, for their dignity, and for their legacy. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's refusal to depend on international donors echoes a deeper truth. Sovereignty begins when citizens take responsibility, not when politicians negotiate it. His model challenges the Western idea that development must be bought, borrowed, or imported. In Burkina Faso, it is being built from zero and empty-handed. Yet, most Western media have remained quiet. There are no headlines in major outlets about 20,000 African women building roads, schools, and drainage systems by hand. Why? Because it doesn't fit the standard narrative of Africa in crisis. A continent defined by aid dependency, conflict, or helplessness cannot easily accommodate a story of voluntary civic power and grassroots success. But those paying attention, especially in African American communities, Pan-African networks, and alternative media, are beginning to take note. They see something familiar in Burkina Faso's movement, a struggle for dignity, for self-determination, for the power to shape one's own destiny. The story resonates with those who remember their own communities building schools, churches, and businesses with little more than shared labor and hope. This is not just Africa news. This is a wake-up call to the world. It challenges the notion that progress must be outsourced, or that African nations must wait for foreign experts to solve their problems. And it poses a direct question to us in the West. If Burkina Faso can build without loans, what's stopping us from rebuilding what we've lost? Our trust, our unity, our local power. As this spirit spreads across the region, from Mali to Niger to Guinea, it's not just inspiring Africans, it's offering a universal truth. Real development starts when people believe in their own worth, and when leaders believe in their people. Just when the world thought Burkina Faso had reached its limit, economically cornered, diplomatically isolated, and fighting insurgency on multiple fronts, something unexpected happened. A shift not of power but of perception. The women's movement, once seen as a local act of sacrifice, has become a political and symbolic force. In international forums, when Burkina Faso is mentioned, it is no longer only in the context of instability or military coups. Now, observers speak of the women's front line, a term coined by independent African analysts describing the female-led civic defense model. Foreign analysts are beginning to quietly admit that this approach, voluntary, locally organized, and deeply patriotic, has achieved more tangible infrastructure results than many Western-funded development programs, and not just in quantity, but in sustainability, ownership, and national morale. This has also created tension. International NGOs, used to directing the narrative on African development, now find themselves sidelined. Western policymakers who once dismissed Traoré as an inexperienced populist are now confronting a different reality. He may be shaping a new post-aid doctrine for Africa, one that favors internal strength over external dependency. And that doctrine is being built by women. What makes this movement even more powerful is that it is not being led by generals or politicians, it is being led by the invisible hands of African womanhood. In a region often dominated by patriarchal power structures, these women are not asking for permission. They are leading, not behind men, but beside them. Not through protest, but through action. And now, the ripple is spreading. In Mali, women's organizations are forming volunteer brigades modeled after the Burkina Faso example. In Guinea, youth coalitions are proposing days of national labor to replace symbolic independence holidays with tangible acts of service. In Niger, civil society groups are pushing legislation to formalize voluntary civic work as a recognized contribution to national development. Captain Ibrahim Traore, who once stood alone at the helm of a struggling nation, now stands backed by a wall of women, bricklayers of a new identity. His leadership, once doubted by the international elite, is now celebrated by everyday people across the continent. Burkina Faso, a country once mired in poverty and instability, is emerging from nowhere. Not with weapons, not with aid, but through the hands of 20,000 women who have chosen service over silence, labor over despair. They have shown the world that nation building is not the task of a powerful few, but a sacred duty of the majority. Schools now stand where there was dust. Roads now stretch where isolation once reigned. And dignity now lives where dependency used to grow. This is what happens when people reclaim their future. One wheelbarrow, one brick, one sunrise at a time. As President Ibrahim Traore declared, "We do not ask for permission to be free. We rise and build." If the spirit of these women stirs something deep within you, don't keep it to yourself, share their story. If you believe Africa should rise with its own voice, on its own terms, subscribe to this channel. Because true dignity is not handed down through foreign aid, it is built, day by day, with grit, resolve, and pride. And today, that dignity wears a headscarf, holds a shovel, and breaks ground under the African sun. God bless the women of Burkina Faso. God bless an Africa that is rising, with strength, with soul, and with purpose.